r/AskReddit by Redmond ETS. What's something that's illegal now, but used to be perfectly normal? Used to buy dynamite at the hardware store. My dad and I used it to remove stumps. When did this become illegal? Because I remember going to the hardware store with my dad in the mid-90s to get dynamite. 1968ish stores stopped selling it on the states. Until 9/11 you could buy a $5 federal license and purchase it from registered chemical plants. 1970 federal legislation that I think went into effect in 1971. If you bought dynamite in the 90s in the states without a federal license, it was most likely illegal. Cigarette vending machines. No age restriction. Just drop couple of quarters in and pull the handle. Smoking at school. My high school had a smoking area for students. My mother used to bump cigarettes off the principal during lunch in the early 80s. Sending your kids to the store to buy cigarettes. I used to do that for my mom. And even though it was perfectly normal, it was still illegal. I remember one place let me get the cigarettes for my mom with food stamps. Lead paint and asbestos in housing. Forget lead paint, let's talk about leaded gasoline, which is still used in some planes I think. Public executions. Last public guillotine execution was 1939 in France. Christopher Lee, the famed Dracula actor, was there. Last use of the guillotine in France is 1977 and happened because the French were very upset at another horrible crime and were calling for blood. Riding around town in the back of a pickup truck. I'm someone who won't take my car out of park if all the seat belts aren't fastened, but as a kid I would jump at the chance to ride in the truck bed. Smoking indoors. It's illegal to smoke in a vehicle with minors where I live. Wish that law was in place when I was a kid. Dosing your baby with OTC laudanum so you can go out dancing all night. Or so my grandmother said. A couple of flappers overdosed their babies and they stopped selling laudanum in the drugstore. Our high school had a rifle club in school. Kids kept their .22s in their lockers. Edit. Not saying rifle teams are now illegal. Bringing guns into school and storing them in a locker is what is now verboten. And I'm not from a particularly rural area. One of the high school where I worked had a rifle range in the building. I can remember when it was perfectly normal for someone to leave their kids in the car, doors unlocked and windows open, while they went inside a business. No one gave it a second thought. I couldn't even tell you how many hours of my life were spent waiting in a car for my parents to run whatever errands they were doing. Not wearing a seatbelt. People used to make fun of you for wearing one. Does anyone remember the 90s when mooning was a thing? I remember my mom driving down the highway and my brother and I laughing hysterically at some random guy who was mooning us out his window. I don't know if it's illegal now, but I think mooning would be perceived a lot differently these days. Edit. All of your mooning stories are warming my heart. Indecent exposure is illegal. When I was in high school, so a few decades ago, my soccer coach's son mooned the team bus from his buddy's car as they passed us on the way home from a game. The cops were waiting for him at the high school because the bus driver called it in. The bus driver was a massive dong. Historically in France, you could rape a woman and say, "But she's so beautiful, how could I not? I'm only a man after all." And they'd go, "Well, you best marry her now." Naturally the men would say, "Well, if I must own this beautiful woman, if you're forcing me to, I guess I'll put up with it." Horrendous. So much pollution. People used to change the oil on their car and dump it down storm drains or pour into a hole in the ground. Old bottles of pills got thrown in the trash. So much aerosol hairspray. Commercially, we dumped so much chemical waste into rivers they started catching on fire, started burning through the ozone layer, Superfund sites, list goes on and on. I work as an environmental driller. We drill contaminated sites, either for commercial or residential clients. This right here is the reason I'll never ever be out of work. The amount of shit the previous generations dumped on the ground is crazy. When you picked someone up at the airport, you used to be able to walk right up to where they got off the plane. Spankings in school, including with paddles. This is still a thing in some places in the United States, and is even making a comeback. Owning fully automatic firearms. Prior to the National Firearms Act of 1934, anyone was allowed to own full automatic firearms in the states, aka machine guns. Being a latchkey kid. Growing up, I had so many friends that would get home alone only for their parents to come home 2 or 3 hours later. Actually just saw somebody on this site who apparently called CPS on this recently. That's all folks. Thank you for watching. If you like videos like this one, why not like and subscribe for more? Have a nice evening.